This episode is brought to you by Palmera Travel Group. Our travel advisors will help you to plan any and all travel from A to Z, including bookish travel, travel to locations found in or inspired by your favorite books. Whether you like to travel solo or want to bring a group of friends, we help you manage all aspects of your trip. Ready to plan your next bookish adventure? Contact Palmera Travel today at www.palmeratravel.com. That's www.palmeratravel.com. Or on Instagram at Palmera Travel, Palmhera Travel. Palmera Travel. We plan, you travel.
Cause I don't give a fuck what you say. Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make. Yo, I got a lot of shit to say, so I'ma do this every day. I'll be writing things until I'm fucking buried in my grave. 6 feet deep under, but my body won't decay.
Well, welcome to the What They Wrote podcast, the podcast where we sit down with authors and talk about those stories that inspire them. I am Whitney Welsh Gibbs, the author of the Lucas Tate duology, Broken Anchors, and The Land of Frost, which is available now. And this is my co-host, the reader who keeps me writing, my best friend, and the co-founder of our founding sponsor. It's Megan Brebner. Hey, Meg.
Hi.
Well, Megan, we have made it to the end of April. We are here.
We are here, indeed.
Mm-hmm. It is finally nice outside. We are finally getting some warm weather. Hallelujah, praise the gods.
I am a 100% solar-powered individual, so the sunshine is the only thing, like, giving me life. Like, I know. Back to being empowered to clean my house, walk outside. Like, the sunshine is everything. I'm literally, these are the only days that I love being in LA because of sunshine.
It's so nice outside. It's like we're finally getting spring, but actually we're mostly getting summer. So
yeah, there's no real spring in LA. It's just you go from winter to summer.
Yeah, exactly. So it's been really nice here. And that's kind of a great thing to have when we're moving into this time of like kind of our summer for the podcast, our kind of spring breaky summertime. So it's kind of appropriate for us. Megan's got some traveling coming up. I have some traveling coming up. So, I mean, we've got some things going on. And if you didn't know, today is the final episode of the What They Wrote podcast, season 1. We're not going away. We're just taking a break between season 1 and season 2. But this is our final episode, which is actually kind of crazy.
Yeah. And isn't it weird? Like, we talk about, like, we built in this, like, break for us. But I'm actually, like, not looking forward to the break. I'm actually looking forward to just getting started on season 2. So, like, this break is kind of like, do we have to? Like, but I know we'll keep ourselves busy, like, with planning content and planning episodes and stuff like that. But I'm actually just, like, I'm not even excited for a break. I'm just excited to get started again.
I know, me too. And we're, like we said last month on our bonus episode, we have new things coming this next season, which we're really excited about, a new format, and all these cool things that we get to kind of work into and incorporate where the listener is kind of involved and all those fun and amazing things. So I'm really excited too. I'm a little bit sad about taking a break, but I know we need it so we can get fresh and new for season 2.
We need to refresh everything. We need to make up some clear plans of what some of our episodes are going to look like. But you're right. Like, we're coming up with a format where you listeners can be more involved, because we noticed that the episodes where you guys were more involved and the conversation continued outside of the episode and on social media was something you guys really enjoyed. So we wanted to bring you more in our podcast episodes that you can be involved in. So I'm just really excited to see what everyone thinks of the new format.
I am too. I'm really excited. Well, this past season has been kind of a whirlwind of fantastic conversation and laughs and games and theories and new books for us and sort of everything in between. I don't know about you, Meg, but I have like so enjoyed the conversations we've had, the things that we've done on this podcast for the past season. It's just been so much fun.
It really has. And, you know, you and I are not the most social, outgoing people. So I actually thought this was really good for us to meet some really amazing people in the book industry. Like, I feel like we connected with every single guest on some level.
Yeah.
And many of them we still talk to now, like outside of the conversation. So I feel like we made some friends, which is something you and I don't really go out and do very often.
Right.
We're very comfortable in our own little holes, as many book readers are. We just like to be content with our fictional characters. So it was really cool to meet other people like us that like to immerse themselves in books and stories. And so now we have a bunch of friends all over the country, and a lot of them we're going to get to see in October when we go to that fantasy ball. So I think it was actually something really, really amazing that you and I probably wouldn't have been able to do outside of having the podcast and the means of doing it.
It really did push us in our little introvert like selves out of our comfort zones, but in like the best way possible. So it was really cool. I'm so excited that we were able to meet new people and now call them our friends and just have those conversations. In fact, I loved it so much that I think we should share some of our favorites on this podcast today. What do you think?
I think you're totally right. I think we need to recap some of the highlights of the season.
Well, let's do it then. So before we do, though, I think that what we need to do first and foremost for the last time in season 1 is take care of those housekeeping items. Because if you know us, there are a few things we need to take care of before we dive into these conversations for a second time. And also those fun things like theories and those sort of things. So first and foremost, as always, this is an adult podcast created by and for adults. And that means that some material and language might come up that might be a little bit more mature than you want your kids listening to, or you might be comfortable listening to. But in all honesty, if you've been listening to us for this first season, you're probably comfortable with that and you're probably aware. So fair warning. But, if you want to dip out now, that's fine, but it's coming. Second, though we try not to spoil anything on this podcast, let's be real, we spoil a lot on this podcast, and we will be spoiling a lot on this podcast, including some recaps of our theories of the Empyrean series and of our coverage of Onyx Storm after it came out. So if you haven't finished Onyx Storm, if you haven't read The Fourth Wing, Iron Flame, Onyx Storm, Empyrean series, just, step out and come back. I'll put some timestamps in the description below so you can kind of skip those. But beyond that, let's get it rolling. Let's get it started.
Let's do it. So our first guest is going to be Kyla Schinder. Kyla grew up in New York City. She has a bachelor's degree in psychology and writing from Sarah Lawrence College and a master's in school counseling from Fordham University. She has a 3-year-old Cavachon dog named Tippy, and she is the author of Bleeding Rose, which came out this year in September 2024. She's also the author of Until the Last Drop and Through Fire and Water. Hi, Kyla. So we want to either know one of your favorite headcanons about your stories or your characters, or give us a piece of gossip about one of your characters. That's not spoilery, but it's just hey, you wouldn't know this unless you're me who wrote the characters.
I think that Kellen would underratedly love Rent. I can't explain it. It just makes sense. But I think he would tell people his favorite movie is Fight Club.
Sure.
But his favorite movie would be Rent. And then for gossip, okay, so I would say that Kellen towards the end of the book, they have this thing called Macabia, which is the school does. It's basically the students' midterm exam where they show off their powers, but it's like a game. And so the students are split into a red team and a gold team. And Kellen gets really into it. He's even though he's a teacher at the school, but he gets really into it, and he keeps a tally of how many days to Macabia on his classroom on the whiteboard because he's counting down for it.
Whitney, today we have Sophia DeCensi. Sophia is an award-winning author of short, magical, and spooky rom-coms. Her debut young adult rom-com novel is planned for publication in spring of 2025. She is the author of Tiny Hearts, which is a story in the anthology Dragons of a Different Tale, as well as Bone Kindling in A Very Ghostly Christmas, Ghoulie Girl in Tales of Monstrosity, Fairly Dead in Enchanted Tales and Twisted Lore, and her debut young adult novel coming spring of 2025. Hi, Sophia.
I have been trying to get my young adult readers to start reading Twilight. I'm like, please, come on, let's talk about these books together.
I think they would like it, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember my mom read them when I was reading them in middle school, and she loved Twilight too.
Yeah.
We all love it. I mean, I actually would also want to hear a current Gen Z or Gen Alpha's opinion on the Twilight books, because it was, I mean, I don't even know when Stephanie Meyer started writing it, but this was written before texting, cell phones, Find My Friends. So it would be interesting to see what they're saying. Like, this guy just disappears on Bella for months and doesn't say anything. She's resulting to emails, and instead of, all these miscommunications happening, why couldn't he just text her? Why couldn't she just text him? Is what I feel like this new generation would be thinking of reading this book. So it's almost like fantasy, like a higher fantasy to them, because they didn't have the resources they do now in Twilight when it was written.
Yeah. They'd probably think he was pretty toxic too, because I know that's what he got a lot of hate for, so they'd probably be like, okay, just move on. You have Jacob, you don't need Edward anymore.
Right? Today we have MK Ahern. MK grew up in Massachusetts as one of 3 sisters. She now lives in Maryland with her husband, son, and 3 cats. She received her Bachelor in Arts in International Relations and a Master of Professional Studies in Homeland Security. When not writing or studying, she can be found planning her next travel adventure. She is the author of Promised Shadows, Broken Flames, One Hollow Love, and her upcoming release, Warring Tides, which will be coming February 4th of 2025. Welcome, MK. Did you find it naturally easy, or was it kind of challenging for you to write spice for the first time?
My mom reads my books, so that is in the back of my head every time I start writing spice, is that my mom's gonna read it. So that's been a challenge. I do think it's getting easier, but yeah, when Broken Flames audiobook came out, my mom is a big audiobook person, so she was like, I'm waiting for the audiobook, and she listened to it and forgot to skip the spicy scenes, and she texted me and she's like, Molly, I can never read, I can never read your books again. She's like, I'm scarred for life. I was like, that's tame. Wait till you get to Warring Tides. I was like, I can't even imagine, this poor woman is out, walking her dog, listening to her daughter's smut she wrote.
I love this. So when we were on our cruise and we were reading the ACOTAR series, I got to the second one and I was like, I'm going to download the audiobook. And I listened to audiobooks at Megan's dying, because this was the best story. I read audiobooks at two times the speed. It's double speed always. And I had the dramatized Akamath book on, and I'm listening to it, and I'm not even that far in, and I just turned to Megan. I have my headphones, and I'm like, you need to hear this. This is actually horrible. I cannot listen to this anymore. I need to read this book because this is actually horrible. And I take out my headphones, and she's like, this is traumatizing. This is actually traumatizing to listen to.
And I don't listen to audiobooks, much less a dramatized audiobook. So it was actually different people casting voices, so they were playing it out, and even the moans and the groans, and it was on double the speed, so you have to imagine it just went sounded like chipmunks, and I'm like, what are you listening to? I was like, this is not what I'm reading.
And so I thought the book was wild. Way spicier than it really was, because it was just a dramatized version, so I could see your poor mom, any sort of spice in a book, an audiobook is just
I listened to my first dark romance as an audiobook.
Oh boy.
I was, in my car, and I was like, I can't even turn this off because I'm driving, and I was like, I feel like I'm listening to something that's illegal. If I get pulled over right now, this is so bad.
Oh my gosh, we just had one of our friends, he's an audiobook listener as well, and we got him to listen to Fourth Wing and Iron Flame, and I swear I warned him that there was spice. It wasn't a full conversation, but I was like, are you okay with spice in a book? Because there's definitely some spice. He's like, oh, okay, whatever. I don't think he really knew what that meant.
Men
and so
don't.
He they definitely don't expect what's coming. So then he's texting me his whole oh my gosh, major plot points and Fourth Wing, and then he's like, hey, you said this was spicy. This is really nasty. feisty, and like it's Fourth Wing, like he's not even on Iron Flame yet. So I'm like, I don't think it's like that serious, and he still can't stop talking about the spice. He's like, you should really warn people about the spice. Like I was in my car, and all of a sudden like this sex scene comes on, and I'm like, whoa, like he's never read or listened to a spicy book ever, and it totally like scarred him, and he's still talking about just the spice. Today we have Rachel Tork. Rachel is the author of fantasy romance and contemporary romance books, including the Evening Star Saga. She adores Rainy Days, Raylo, and Early Mornings Snuggled on Her Couch. She writes quick-paced fantasy with snarky yet flawed characters, as well as deeply emotional romance that proves love really can conquer all. She is the author of Bloodheart, the Evening Star Saga, and the recently released The Lines We Cross. We just released that one on January 14th. Hello, Rachel. So it seems like the stuff you were reading was like a lot of the fantasy dystopian. Would you say that kind of influenced the genres you write now? Or was it just something that was the genre you write now, just something you kind of found along the way?
So I, like, originally when I started reading again, like after reading ACOTAR, I was really only into fantasy for a long time. And I was like, I'm not a contemporary romance girly. Like, that's not my vibe. I'm here for like the fantasy world and the swords and everything. But then I heard about The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood, and I was like, oh, like, it's based on a Raylo fanfic. Maybe I'll like it, because I love Raylo. And I read it, and I was like, oh my god, this is so addicting and so fresh. And I have since read, like, a ton of contemporary romance. Like, I would honestly say that's probably, like, my main genre in terms of, like, what I read now. So, yeah, that... I would say, like, fantasy has definitely influenced my beginning, like, the first few books I wrote, but then I read Love Hypothesis, started reading contemporary romance, and that kind of started to really influence my writing from then on.
Today we have Kai Venn. Kai is an author mom who thrives in the chaos, and she is the author of Justice in Magic, Queen of the Sky, The Reaper's Mask, The Lost Arcadian, and coming soon, The Trials of the Elven Blade. Welcome, Kai. What is the spice like in your books? What is the rating? We usually like to have a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being like no spice, like even if there's some romance, like maybe Throne of Glass, going into our 5s being like heavy smut, like The Priest. Like where would your work land, both your fantasy and your romance?
I feel like my fantasy is probably like a 2. Like, it's got a couple like little sprinkles of, spicy here and there, but like my mafia romance, that's why it's filthy. Like probably like a 4. I don't know if I would say it was a 5, but it's filth.
We love good filth.
We love good filth. Would you say it's like filth or smut driven, or is there still plot?
There's still plot.
Okay.
So I try to have a really good balance of both, but I mean, there's a good amount of smut in there.
Today we are welcomed with Alicia Kirby. Alicia is a 28-year-old author from Northern Virginia who is currently on an adventure publishing her debut novel, A Crown in Shadows. After graduating from the University of Tennessee, Alicia moved back home to Virginia to pursue a career in digital marketing, where she currently works for a local tourism team. When not writing, Alicia likes to relax and watch scary movies on the couch with her rescue kitty, Kyora, explore new places with her family, and of course, read. Imagination and storytelling has always been a part of Alicia's life. After working for the Walt Disney Company off and on for 3 years, the magic and wonder of the world was just bursting out of Alicia's head. She is the author of her debut novel, A Crown of Shadows, releasing tomorrow, February 18th, 2025. So, welcome, Alicia.
Do you think that as you were writing A Crown of Shadows, that you pulled, maybe, obviously we pull for inspiration. We've talked about this a lot. We pull for inspiration. It does not mean that we're copying those stories. Get off our backs. We're not. But did you ever pull inspiration from these stories that you love, like ACOTAR, like those stories that are really in that same vein?
I don't know if I pulled directly from them. I think they were in the back of my mind just because of how much I enjoyed reading them. I wanted to kind of style a book in the same way just because I enjoyed it so much. I've read a few other stories in books that have to do with Fae, but I think ACOTAR is the one that people kind of pull most when they think of the Fae mythology. So definitely that, because there is Fae in my book. I think that part I pulled a lot from ACOTAR, just how they are and their immortality and how they stay young for thousands of years and never really age, and they have all these mystical properties about them. I think I pulled from that. But it is hard because there's hundreds of thousands of books and stories out there. It's so hard to write a 100% original story. But I think that's the beauty of, we see what other people do and it inspires us so much that we put it in our own words and we add and we take, it's not taking by any means, but it is just that full inspiration of, I loved that part of the story. I love the way it made me feel. Let me see if I can do that same thing for my readers. And I think that's totally okay.
Absolutely. And we've even talked about that, I think, on this podcast as well, as that's kind of the times right now. Like even movies, TV shows, we're getting remakes, we're getting spin-offs, we're getting retellings of old stories. Like we get all these retellings of, Disney stories because they work, they're tried, they're true. And we are the nostalgia generation. Like that is what I think like the entire world is catering to right now, is we want those stories that worked out so well for us as kids, but we want them to apply to us now. And I think that's exactly what is happening. And I think it's beautiful. I think it's great. I'm consuming everything and I'm loving every bit of it. It's not copying. It's like, it's doing what the rest of the world is doing and, just retelling these stories that we love with a new twist.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I'm, like I said before, I will pick up every single Enemies to Lovers book. And I know what's going to happen. I'm going to pick it up. And it's not because, the story is carbon copied. It's not going to be carbon copied. It'll be inspired by another story. We've all read Enemies to Lovers. We know what's going to happen. We know that they're pretty much the same. That arc is just, that's fine.
We love it every time.
We love it. We love it. I'll read it. You have a shadow daddy in your book. I'm going to read it.
Today we have Sarah Shafi'i. She is a proud Persian Canadian born and raised in Montreal. Having graduated with a master's in marketing, her true passion lies in anything creative. She grew up writing and telling stories, but it was at the age of 15 that she realized she wanted to be a published writer. Ever since, Sarah has been preparing for the day she would finally get her book out in the world. Her goal is to write the most magical of books for the hopeless romantics. You can often catch her watching cartoons, listening to Taylor Swift, or drawing. If she's not writing, reading, or creating content, she also loves to spend time with friends by grabbing a bite or going shopping. She is the author of A Destined Journey, a new adult fantasy romance novel and the first installment of the Destined series. Hello, Sarah.
Meg, what are you reading?
I am also reading Quicksilver, and I think I have a couple that I'm also reading in the background. I'm still working on A Sea of Blood and Sapphire, which I really like, and I have a couple other like one-off mysteries and medical thrillers that I've picked up, but I haven't really gotten too far into them yet. So my main read right now is Quicksilver as well, by Callie Hart, and enjoying it so far. We're about halfway through.
Yeah,
That's on my list, so
Is it?
I'm glad you're enjoying it. Yeah, I do want to read. Well, my friends and I were doing this thing where one of us buys the book and they read it, they annotate it, then we ship it to the next person.
I've seen that.
Yeah, she came up with she saw the video, I think, on TikTok, and she's like, do you guys want to do it? And we're like, yeah, sure. So that's how I'm going to read it.
Yes, Sisterhood of the Traveling Book. Love that.
Exactly. Bye.
Today, I'm so excited. We are sitting with author J.N. Kindig. She's an epic fantasy writer. She spends a lot of her time daydreaming. One day, as a child, she decided to write those daydreams down. After a lot of false starts and partial manuscripts, here we are. She lives in South Carolina with her husband and their dog Luna and is pursuing her MA in English. If she isn't locked away in her office or studying, she's probably somewhere antiquing. She is the author of the Nightmare Novellas, which was published in November of 2024, and her next book will be the first of the Ruizvet saga and is tentatively scheduled for the first half of 2026. So without further ado, hi Jordan, how you doing? When you're writing, how do you feel you balance writing something that feels real to readers that would actually make them terrified, but also using fantasy characters that aren't real in our life?
I think one of the great things about the fantasy genre is that we can use it as a way to kind of examine real world issues in ways that don't necessarily feel as heavy-handed as they could if we were just reading like a contemporary literary fiction book that is, written to clearly be a direct response to something that happened. But the way we can explore these kind of real world issues in the fantastical in a fantastical setting, in my opinion at least, is that we create characters who feel real. You know, they might be, you know, like I have elves in my book, I have humans, obviously I have people who have been given powers and can do magic and things like that. But I think that they as characters need to be complex. They need to be emotionally driven. They need to have clear like motivations and desires and things that they need to overcome on their own. And so that's something that a real world reader can connect to. And in my opinion, if the reader can connect to the character, if the emotional grounding or foundation, I guess, is there, I think that's how we can tackle a lot of like real, I keep saying real world, but a lot of, you know, more like mundane, I guess we could consider it, issues in fantasy, because behind all the trappings of monsters and ghosts and gods and ancient evil stones who want to like ruin, who want to destroy the world.
Yeah.
The characters at the end of the day are trying to save themselves. They're trying to save the people they care about. And I think as long as there's that really like base level emotional resonance, it can feel more real.
Today I'm super excited because we have our author, Maggie. Maggie has dreamed of being an author since she first brought pen to paper and let her imagination run wild. When she's not reading or writing, she usually has a case of the travel bug and loves exploring new countries, which tends to bring a new round of inspiration to her writing, and we love that. She has always been an avid believer that reading gives you the opportunity to escape the real world and fall into an entirely new one, which might be why she loves fantasy so much. She resides in Illinois with her husband Alec and pup Denali, who has rightfully earned the nickname Bad Dog D. So without further ado, welcome Maggie Lynn. Hello, Maggie.
I loved so much the character she was, and then like having her grow into this other character that I didn't love as much. I think that was like a really cool dynamic to put readers through. And then the other one, I think it happened in book 4, and this was big. This was big, guys. My little high school heart couldn't take it. She like cheated on her boyfriend with a professor and then got caught by her boyfriend. I was like, what is happening? I remember the first time I read it, I closed the book and I said, oh my. Because it was like, not only did she cheat, not only was it on this like amazing, sweet golden retriever man, it was with a professor. And she got caught. And the professor ended up being a bad guy. So it was all orchestrated. So yeah, my little high school heart died a little on that day.
Today, we are thrilled to welcome Florence Gray, debut author of A Little Mermaid retelling titled A Sea of Blood and Sapphire. Florence is an animal enthusiast and an avid nap taker. Respect. She is also the author of her upcoming novel, The Heartbeat Heist. Hello, Florence. We are so excited to have you today, and I actually am personally thrilled to talk to you today, Florence, because Little Mermaid is my shit, and I actually wore my Little Mermaid spirit jersey just for you. I know you mentioned the Disney version of The Little Mermaid. Were both versions kind of in your head, the Disney version and the original fairy tale by Hans Christian Andersen? Did you have kind of both of them you were pulling from, or were you more one versus the other?
I was more so the Hans Christian Andersen version, but I did want to keep in mind the Disney version for people who did grow up with the Disney princesses, just so there's like little nods here and there towards it that it's like, oh, that's a fun like detail that she threw in.
Yeah, and I think you actually did a very good job of that, because I actually had written down that I thought it was an interesting blend of both the Disney cartoon and the Hans Christian Andersen story, because Hans Christian Andersen takes it very dark. It's a very grim story. There's no happy endings. There's no, Disney princess kind of feel at all. And then you obviously have the total opposite, where it's a Disney cartoon. It's all happy, lovey romance. So
we're going to move into the Empyrean series now that we've talked about what we have read, because those books we've actually read the most this year out of anything else is Fourth Wing. We are ready for Onyx Storm, and we have some theories here that we want to share on this podcast. I'm so excited. So the way we've broken down our theories is we've broken them down in categories, our favorite theories from those categories, and we're going to dive in. So we're going to talk about these theories that we think we want to share with you and that have been like really just tearing at our brains. I've been going insane with some of these. Yeah,
I know. We'll text each other at like in the middle of the night and be like, Okay, but like, did you catch this line? Or I just can't stop, and we won't even have been talking about it. Like, it'll just be a random thought that comes like into my brain in the middle of the night when I'm trying to fall asleep. I was like, hey, did you notice that character's eye color was kind of weird? Like, we're ridiculous. Anyway, so let's dive in. Tell us about our first set of theories, Whit.
Okay, so our first set of theories is for Brennan. Obviously, we are going to spoil this. Brennan is Violet's brother, and he is back in Iron Flame. He's alive, and so there's a lot of stuff that goes with Brennan. And I will personally say, I don't like Brennan. I don't like him at all. I haven't liked him since the minute he walked on page. So I'm not trying to be biased, because I read through, after the first read, I didn't like him. Second read, I was like, okay, let's see if I like him. Didn't like him. Third read through, convinced of why I didn't like him. So, I mean, I wasn't trying to be biased. I had an open mind when I walked into it. He just rubs me the wrong way. He's being portrayed as this good guy, right? He's working with the rebellion. He's part of the rebellion and their council. Brennan's bad. Let's talk about this, because I am convinced of it beyond a shadow of a doubt.
Yes, there are definitely lots of hints to this in the book.
There's a quote in Fourth Wing. It's at the very beginning of chapter 28, and it's talking about the war games. And he's saying, winning the war games isn't about strength, it's about cunning. To know how to strike, how to understand where your enemies, your friends, are most vulnerable. No one stays friends forever, Mira. Eventually, those closest to us become our enemies in some way, even if it's through well-intentioned love or apathy, or we live long enough to become their villains. Why the hell is he writing this?
Yes, no, that's crystal clear to me, like if nothing else is. Right before Liam dies, R.I.P., he wields ice. And what the fuck is that? Because we know his signet, and his signet is Farsight. There you go. So he can see from far away. We know nothing about him being able to wield ice. We also know that that's not necessarily a lesser magic, because it's Riddick's signet. So we know that ice wielding is a signet, but why the hell is Liam wielding it? Okay, so that starts begging the question, do more of the marked ones have more than one signet? And could it be coming from the Rebellion relic? One thing that we'll touch on briefly is on Imogen, and this one came up when I was obsessively writing a chart of everybody's eye color, because I am just so sure it comes up all the time. Anytime Rebecca is describing a character, anytime Violet is describing a character, I guess, the eye color is mentioned, and it's just so prominent. So on this last reread, I kept a list of every single eye color and character mentioned with an eye color or trait. And on top of that, we saw Rebecca release a reel, an Instagram post. And in this post, she is showing off her new bookshelf. You guys are actually going to probably think we're crazy about this one, but just come along for the ride. She's showing her bookshelf, and she's like, I just got, my copy of Onyx Storm. She's here. She's beautiful. And then she's, talking about like sprayed edges, blah, blah, blah. And then she goes, oh, and look, it fits right here with the rest of the family. And she puts it next to a copy of Fourth Wing and Iron Flame.
She fits right here with the rest of the
yes,
family.
You're right. She does say she. And she fits right here with the rest of the family. Fine, that might not be nothing, but a couple things we know about Rebecca Yarros. 1, she does everything with intention. 2, she's a huge Swiftie, and we know that Taylor Swift leaves these crazy Easter eggs in all over the place, and we know Rebecca loves that. So we were peeling this video apart with a fine-tooth comb, trying to figure out, what does this say? Like, what is she telling us? Like, it's just so intentional. She stops. Oh, not to mention, she fits right in with the rest of the family. And we're like, what does that mean? Okay, put that off to the side of your brain. You're going to lose us here. She's also wearing green jewelry, right? She's wearing a green ring on her ring finger. And a green necklace? Is that what the other one is?
A green necklace, yes.
A green pendant
not
necklace.
Her normal wedding ring. It is replacing her wedding ring. She has never worn any other wedding ring besides her normal diamond wedding ring. That day, she is wearing a green stoned ring on her finger in place of her wedding ring. And a green necklace.
And a green necklace. So, we're starting to play around with things. Well, could this green be like resembling somebody's eyes. And when we're thinking of the line fits right into the family, we're like, okay, maybe she's trying to tell us that there is some sort of Easter egg about families, that there is somebody in a family that we don't know about yet. And who could she be talking about? And so we look at her jewelry and we see this green necklace and we're like, who has green eyes in this book? We know Imogen has pale green eyes. We also know that Eric/Cam has green eyes. We believe that Imogen is one of King Tauri's children. We think she is Eric/Cam's sister, and we think they are related. Now, what other evidence do we have? Not much, but we do have one line where they're going to Jacinia when they're about to, I believe, break into the vault, into the vault. And Jacinia looks up and looks at Eric and kind of gets wide-eyed, and she realizes like who he is, that he is the king's son. And Violet and Jacinia start talking about it, and Jacinia says, I mean, well, you can tell if you're looking. You can see the resemblance. You can tell if they're looking, something like that. Yeah, that could be about the king and Eric, but we also think maybe she sees Imogen standing right there and can see some sort of a resemblance between Eric and Imogen with those green eyes. As we're recording this, we are maybe little over 48 hours away from the Onyx Storm midnight, in quote, release party at the Grove in Los Angeles, which we are shaking in our boots excited for. Like, I still don't believe that it's actually happening. I'm so excited. I'm excited for this book to come out. Like, the teasing is just out of control. Like, we are all like overflowing with theories and anxieties and stresses and just like all of these things, all of these thoughts, and it feels like the entire world, because I'm sure that's what our algorithm is right now, is just Onyx Storm stuff, is anticipating this. But it seems like some targets, either accidentally or intentionally, who knows, put the Onyx Storm copies out on the shelves early. People found them, tried to obviously buy them early, and were stopped like at the checkout. Like, it doesn't let you, like it says like, oh, can't sell until the 21st. So they were stopped. And then it sounds like people were crazy and decided to swap covers of like either Iron Flame or something else just so they could check it out and leave with it early. So because of this, Onyx Storm is like leaked.
I'm going to say this with my whole entire chest. If you are picking up a book that is not supposed to be released until a certain date, trying to buy it, okay, fair, and it doesn't go through, it doesn't register and allow you to buy it, do not steal that book.
Yes.
Do not take it. And if you swap that dust cover out for something else and take that book, you are stealing. That is not fair. That is not right. It's not fair to the author. It's not fair to that other person that might pick up that book that you have now swapped it out with, thinking that it is Onyx Storm on the 21st, gets home and it's not. Now you've ruined their experience and they have to go back to the store, and it looks, how are they going to prove that to the store that they did not steal this other book? You have caused that. And now you're putting spoilers out? Like,
I can't think of a more disgusting person.
It's terrible.
Oh my God, like I can't, but like, even if I had the nerve to do something like that and get that book, I would not in a million years, first of all, post that I did it, and then post spoilers. Like, are you kidding me? We actually got to see Rebecca Yarros on opening night, release night, I guess, at Barnes & Noble in the Grove in Los Angeles.
We did. I truly, when I have explained this to people who probably don't understand how important this was to you and I, but when I explain it to people, I'm like, I was fighting for my life through the door. Even though we waited in line, we were like the second group of people in line. There was only 2 people ahead of us in line, and we were fighting for our lives to get through the door. It was like a mob outside just to get in, even though we had our wristbands, fighting up the escalator, fighting. We get to our seats. Now, everybody, they let us in at 5:30. The Q&A started at 6. So of course you're going to go straight to the seats, because that's what any logical person does.
What else would you do?
We get to the seats, we pick our seats out, and they say, oh, you can go do other things. There's a glam cam. There's this, there's that.
Trivia. Go get your trivia spot.
Like, I'm like, because it's at 6, it's in a half hour. We're like, well, where do we line up then? Because we're not leaving. We just waited in line to be front row. We're in front row. Let us sit here. Well, they
Yeah.
didn't let us. So they moved us around the corner. We got in yet another line fighting for our lives. And then we had to wait and see Rebecca Yarros. But I didn't care. I wasn't there for the games. I wasn't there for the glam cam or the cafe or whatever they had. I was there for Rebecca. And I'm so glad I waited because she is absolutely the coolest person ever. She is a gem. I love her. And just, it was everything to see her.
100%. She was funny. She was sweet. She was beautiful and humble. Like just everything you would ever expect her to be. She was all of it. Chapter 12, we have some Violet Xaden kissy time. Xaden draws the line at kissing out of fear of losing control. Violet then straight up asks Xaden if Garrick is a distance wielder, which he confirms. And then our favorite part that I know you want to talk about.
Yes.
Violet then admits she thought she once saw Liam wield ice at the Battle of Ressen, which Xaden confirms. And asks, how often do second signets accompany these particular relics? And Xaden replies, often enough to be sure Kaori can't possibly have accurate records, but not too completely that anyone questions why I only present with one. So let's unpack that for a quick moment.
Let's unpack this. First of all, whoever came at us so vehemently in our comments and said this could not be real. Rebecca Yarros said herself in an interview, which none of us could find, that it was an editing error. First of all, I'm an author, guys. If it was an editing error, it would have been taken out of the book. Let's be real. I have multiple copies of Fourth Wing that are not first editions, and it is still in the book for a reason. It has been confirmed here. So, if you were in our comments, I don't need an apology, but just know that you were wrong.
Narelle refers to our company as Emerales. She also says, what you call the divine intervention of love, we call alchemy. Two substances combined to make something entirely new, not unlike what's between the two of you, pointing to Xaden and Violet. And then we have another best scene in the book. She says, have to admit, that kind of confident violence isn't what I pictured when Asher talked about you. She's talking to Xaden after he is super possessive and protective over Violet. So she says, that kind of confident violence isn't what I pictured when Asher talked about you. But the brown hair, those, I guess they're brown eyes, and how utterly smitten he predicted you two would eventually be for each other. Well, he described you almost perfectly, Dane Ados. And Violet says, fucking kill me now.
Yes.
Mira doubled over laughing. It is super fucking awkward in here because Narelle obviously thinks Xaden is Dane because Asher predicted that Dane and Violet would end up together, which is great because Dane's also standing right there.
Yeah.
Mira's in the background watching the shit, laughing her ass off. And it's just a beautifully awkward, hysterical moment. So I'm super satisfied with this book. I could not be happier with it. And I'd also like to point out, good job on us for noticing Rebecca wearing her emerald ring on her ring finger. So she recently got a new ring, and she's wearing it in the reel that she posts when she's like, oh, look, I got my copy of Onyx Drama. While she has a new ring on. And, you and I were talking about, oh, okay, it's talking about in the family. Maybe it has to do with Imogen's eyes. But really, it's all alluding to the ring that Violet has on her finger at the end. So she was wearing Violet's wedding ring, essentially, which seems to be the missing emerald from the Blade of Orisha. When we say bookish travel, essentially we're talking about traveling, and your trip itinerary includes places for different literary locations. So it's either locations based on real places found in books, or real places in the world that inspired fictional cities in books, or perhaps cities that we feel or the world feels could be inspired by the fictional place. So a place we read in fiction is oh, this reminds me a lot of this place. So you can kind of immerse yourself into a world that feels similar to that fictional place. Sure. It may be a good time to talk about where, we've asked our followers where they would want to visit fictional places in their books, and where you can go to kind of imagine that. Where can you go if you can't go to the literal places in your books?
Yeah, let's talk about it because I think that's really cool. We put out a poll kind of a couple weeks ago And we asked our followers, our listeners, where they would want to visit in the books that they read. Like what places really stand out to you? Now, we have the very typical one. Valeris was the most talked about, the biggest answer that we had. We understand. We get it. We want to be in the city of Starlight. Like I dream about that place
every day,
all the time. Yeah, absolutely. But you can actually visit places that inspired Valeris. And I don't think people understand this. Now, you look at the map and you're like, yeah, okay, that's the UK. Like, I get it. It's the UK. But actually, Valeris, the real life equivalent would be Zermatt, Switzerland. Now, you know, the Matterhorn sits over Zermatt, Switzerland. So you have the mountain there, the little village with the river that runs through it. This is very much the city of Starlight. There's a lot of snow. Totally. It's, you know, in the summertime, it's real pretty, and the you know, the river's flowing. It's really nice. And it really is the equivalent. People are flocking there to Zermatt, Switzerland, because it really is kind of the closest thing we have to Valeris, and they are loving it. Switzerland is wonderful anyways, but to find that place where you can really be inspired, and like we said, these places don't necessarily have to be the same places or exactly, you know, what somebody's writing about, but you can have that inspiration, you can have that feeling, you can go take your pictures and say, like, I'm here with Rhysand, blah, blah, blah. You know? That's our dream. But yeah, Valeris was a big one.
Today is an especially special bonus episode because we are going to get all the juicy deets about Whitney's new novel and my personal favorite book, The Land of Frost, releasing March 18th. What are some common romance, fantasy, romantasy book tropes that we could expect in this book?
Yeah, there's a few. A forced proximity in this book. Enemies to lovers. Yes, my favorite. My favorite. Enemies to lovers. Maybe a one-bed trope. Touch her and die. My intern says it's like more like look at her and die. Burn the world for her, sort of. Yeah.
I think there's also a small scaling the castle walls naked trope.
Oh, yes. Megan wants me to talk about this because this is her favorite.
This is my favorite.
Yeah. Scaling the fortress walls naked in the snow. That is there. I don't know how much of a trope that is, but we're going to make it one.
It's now a trope. And I wonder what on earth would have caused that scene. But let me tell you, it's my favorite. And I think it should be the book cover when you decide to redesign the book cover.
Let's be real. Megan has tried to get my publisher to make this the cover.
I really, really have. I just want like a special edition, like a raunchy special edition of just like Maeve's bare ass scaling the castle wall in the snow, in the dark. I just think that's brilliant. That's truly brilliant and my favorite scene in the book.
Let's make it happen.
So, question.
Yeah.
F, marry, kill, Xaden, Owen, Rhysand. Even though I think I already know your answer.
Oh no. You've just taken my loves of my life. Well,
I know who you're gonna kill, and I'm not happy about it.
I'm not happy about it either. Why'd you give me these? Could have given me Jack Barlow. It'd been easy, but
that's not fun.
You're like trying to break my heart. Okay. Fuck, marry, kill. Okay. He's my husband, but I'm gonna just fuck him. Xaden. I'm gonna have to marry Owen. I wrote him like. I have to kill Rhysand. I'm so sorry.
Tragic. That's so
He's
mean.
lived longer though. He's lived longer. It's okay. He's had his time. We have a bonus episode today, and it's going to be really super fun.
I'm actually really excited about this one. I don't even remember how this idea came to light, but it just felt so natural. So today we are combining two of our favorite worlds, two of our favorite fantasy worlds. We are combining the Harry Potter world with the Empyrean world. So that's the Fourth Wing series. Fourth Wing, Iron Flame, Onyx Storm. We are taking the magic system in that world, and we are going to be assigning it to Harry Potter characters. Next one is Luna Lovegood. I didn't really go off of what I felt she needed. I went off of what I felt she would just be good at. And The top one I gave for her, because I came up with 2, the top one I gave for her is mending, because I feel like she would be such a good, like, gentle voice that's just going around, like, fixing everyone. Like, I could just see her going around, oh, yes, your rib cage is broken, let's just fix your rib cage, like, and just that they're going around just, like, helping and, like, being this calm, nurturing voice, and also being important, because she is a part of that, like, that group, that main group of our big characters. And I feel like this would be something that they need, because they all get attacked and hurt and stuff like that. And they could really use somebody on their team to go around mending people. So that's why I picked for Luna.
I really like that. Mine is purely comedy. So
okay. Do it.
No, yours is well thought out, and I think she would be a great mender, and that you did like a perfect impression of her. I was like, what would Luna's signet be? I think she would be a dreamwalker and have no idea she was a dreamwalker. She'd just be like walking around in people's dreams, chilling out. Floating. All of a sudden she's like, yeah, last night I had a dream and I was and everybody's like, what? That was my dream. Like, why were you there? And she just has no idea how to use it. She has no idea like really what she's doing, but like this is her talent, is she's walking in people's dreams. Yeah. And she's like stifling that kind of that power and that magic a little bit.
No, that'd be so funny. It's funny that you mentioned that, is because I think that signet crossed through my mind when I was thinking of Luna, given the like whimsicalness of it all. Like I just see her floating through people's consciousness, but I didn't end up writing that one down. But it's funny because it is very fitting for her, and not even realizing how powerful she is. I feel like she's just like, oh, what are you doing here with the Nargles in this dream? Like, and people have to like realize like, Luna, like, are you dream walking? Like, I feel like somebody would have to like put it together for her, and she didn't even like realize like what she was doing. So I think that's a cute one for her. And that is What They Wrote, Season 1. Thanks so much for tuning in to today's episode, everyone, and into this season of the What They Wrote podcast. We hope you enjoyed hearing from all of our talented guests. If you liked any of our episodes this season, please take a minute to leave us a 5-star rating so others can find us. Our next episode and season 2 of the What They Wrote podcast will begin on June 2nd, so mark your calendars. We will be discussing our first book in our book club format, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on the fun of the new season. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Until next time, happy reading.
Bye.
Bye.
This episode was brought to you by Palmera Travel Group. Our travel advisors will help you to plan any and all travel from A to Z, including bookish travel. Travel to locations found in or inspired by your favorite books. Whether you like to travel solo or want to bring a group of friends, we help you to manage all aspects of your trip. Ready to plan your next bookish adventure? Contact Palmera Travel today at www.palmeratravel.com. That's www.palmeratravel.com. Or on Instagram at Palmera Travel. That's at PALMHERA Travel. Palmera Travel. We plan, you travel.